Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to teach you how to make blueberry sour cream muffins. They are going to be really easy, and I'm starting there with 1.5 sticks of butter and 1.5 cups of sugar. So I'm going to use a hand mixer today, and I'm moving on to the secret. So you put eggs in water and you let them come to room temperature, and that makes your baking so much easier. Just the hottest tap water that you can. I let them sit for about 5 minutes. And then I am moving on to the milk, a 1/4 cup of milk. It makes them very soft, and 1 cup of sour cream makes them delicious. And then 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla and 2.5 cups of flour. All-purpose flour is fine. And then 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of salt. I also have 2 cups of fresh blueberries that I've picked over to see if they have any stems in them. Make sure they are washed as well and clean. And then I'm starting there by creaming the butter and the sugar. This is a very easy process. It should take about 5 minutes. If you have a hand mixer, you're going to have to stand there for 5 minutes and mix them. But it's pretty easy to do, 3 to 5 minutes. It depends on how high your speed is. You can also do this in the stand mixer. It's probably a little easier, but I actually enjoy my KitchenAid mixer, a handheld mixer. It's perfectly fine and I like it. So it's been 3 to 5 minutes now, and now I'm adding my eggs. They are at room temperature, and this makes your baking so much better if you let your products come to room temperature, if you're making something like a cake or a muffin. If you're baking pies, then you want everything to be super cold out of the fridge. But then I'm going to mix this and mix in the eggs. So these are 3 extra large eggs. I like using extra large eggs. I think it's a better value. You are able to get the same amount of eggs, but you get a little bit more product in each. If you're going to use large eggs, which is what most people buy, then make sure you use 4. So that's something that's really helpful to know. So I'm just mixing the eggs in, make sure that they are well incorporated. It's easy to do. You'll see that I'm going a little fast with the mixer there because I'm trying to get around the edges and make sure that I don't leave anything behind. And this is something that's a lot easier to do with a handheld mixer. So now I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients, 1 cup of sour cream, which makes these muffins super soft and tender. Sour cream in baking is one of the best kept secrets. And sorry, I'm just looking at my tan there. It's a lot. 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla goes in next, and 1/4 cup of milk, which also helps to make them tender, and it makes the batter a little bit more malleable. So that's really easy to do. And you can see that I try to get all of my ingredients into the bowl. I don't like to leave anything behind because that's money that you're washing down the drain. So I try to scrape everything as well as I can. I don't leave anything behind. I try to not be wasteful in any way. So I'm just mixing those in. You mix in the wet ingredients first and then the dry. So the dry will be the flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt. And then last you mix in the blueberries with a spatula. So I'm going to add 2.5 cups of flour next, and you can use all-purpose flour. You could also use cake flour if you have that on hand. It's not necessary. Cake flour just has less protein and it allows it to be tender. And that's 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And then I'm going to go find something to scoop my baking soda with, because I leave that on right by my stove. So I'm putting in 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So that was a measuring spoon for 1 teaspoon. I used 1/2, as you could see. And then 1 teaspoon of salt. I like to use kosher salt. You can also use table salt, but then use only 1/2 teaspoon instead of a full teaspoon, because the volume is different. Kosher salt has larger granules, so the volume is going to be different. So there are all of these little things in baking that really make a difference for your final product. I enjoy baking immensely. I think you have to have a lot of precision, and that appeals to me. So cooking is also so much fun because you can kind of taste as you go and adapt and do it that way. But with baking, you really have to know what you're doing in order to come up with a better product, and you won't know what comes out at the end until you actually take it out of the oven and taste it. So you really have to follow the rules. I love to follow the rules, so that's something that appeals to me about baking. So I've mixed in the dry ingredients, and try not to overbeat this because that can make your baked goods tough. So you really just want to mix it in. And now I'm mixing in the blueberries with a spatula. And then I'm just going to scoop it into 2 muffin pans. This recipe makes about 18 muffins. So I'll show you what it looks like once it's been scooped. And I just sprayed the muffin pans with cooking spray. So that's what they look like. They have a lot of blueberries. Sometimes I just put some over the top as well to make sure they are as full of blueberries as possible. So 2.5 cups, depends on how much you have on hand, how many blueberries you have. So that's what it looks like at the end, and they bake for 25 to 30 minutes at 350, and it's really easy to make. And if you can make this, if you wake up early enough in the morning, so it's super easy. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you come back for more recipes. I love to bake and I love to cook, and I try to post at least 3 times a week. Thanks for being here.